We have breaking news. An ISIS-inspired bomb plot has just been stopped. The suspect is a woman. And coming up, what the feds are saying about her. And right now, President Trump, First Lady Melania Trump are holding a Fostering the Future event, and they will make an announcement. The First Lady will announce a new round of scholarships for foster children. This in partnership with IndyCar, where this weekend in D.C. there is a race. We're going to monitor this event at the White House. Plus, the murder trial that is gripping the nation is so awful, so tragic in so many ways. And what happened today in the Lindsay Clancy trial?
We're going to have kind of a short day today, all right? And that is, as I talked to you yesterday, about an issue that has nothing to do with any of the attorneys in this case, all right? It's just something we're going to work out, and I anticipate it will be worked out.
Will join me in a moment. Also, my colleague, Carl Higbie. He speaks with Vice President J.D. Vance, and Carl will join me to discuss his interview set to air later tonight. I'm Greta Van Susteren. This is The Record. This could have been catastrophic. But feds say they stopped an ISIS-inspired bombing of New York State Capitol in Albany. Authorities say 35-year-old Jessica Bowie pledged allegiance to ISIS. The planning for the bombing allegedly began in July, and on August 5, the feds say she bought bomb materials and planned the attack with the help of FBI informants. The complaint says the New York Capitol building was less than 2 miles from her home and that she wanted to do something to, quote, harm the enemies of God, end quote.
As alleged in the complaint, Ms. Bowie swore her allegiance to ISIS through multiple audio recordings in both English and Arabic. She clearly stated her desire to carry out an attack at the New York State Capitol.
The criminal complaint also says she made a partial confession. She said, quote, there is no helping me. I'm going to prison for the rest of my life, end quote. Retired FBI Special Agent in Charge Michael Tabman joins me. Nice to talk to you, sir. And she got that one probably right, that she's going to end up spending the rest of her life in prison if she worked with FBI informants, right?
That is correct. Getting yourself on tape and video and making statements to FBI informants and probably undercover agents doesn't leave a whole lot for the defense when you go to trial.
And the fact that we're learning about this now, but she was buying bombing materials in August 5th, I think it is, with FBI informants helping, means that the FBI didn't get on this case today. They've been on this for a while. They're way ahead of us, aren't they?
Yes, we've seen this before. Unfortunately, it's not that uncommon that we have people who self-radicalize or radicalize online, and in their mind, they believe they're furthering the goal of ISIS, and they're going to commit this horrendous crime, a bombing, or murder, but often they do not have the knowledge and the wherewithal to pull this off. So they turn to somebody, either a friend, someone they met online, who they believe is going to go along with this plan. That person knows better and notifies law enforcement and generally the FBI. From that moment, that person becomes an informant, and the next step is generally to introduce an undercover agent through that informant and take control of the situation. And I can see by the steps taken, the things that were said, having her go out and buy this material. This was all well under control of the FBI. They were putting together a case. They were confident that she could not do this on her own without the help of these informers who she thought were her friends. So while she had the intent, most likely, to do serious damage, I think the FBI had it well under control, and this woman was not going to be able to pull this off.
You know, as a former criminal defense attorney, I always think, like, how can you be that stupid? I mean, how can you be that stupid to go to someone and say, basically, I mean, we don't know exactly the nature of the informants, but I mean, if the informants are running off to the FBI, you can take it that this was not a great choice in terms of getting help for her.
You know, you're right. How could you be that stupid? We've seen cases like this. I remember how many cases when someone was calling up and thought they're talking to a hitman who's going to kill their spouse for a few $100s, and not realizing they're talking to an undercover FBI agent. When you become this radicalized in your mind, you believe that you're going to pull this off. You know, a rationalization and what you and I think is just acting stupid goes away. They believe this. They see everything in the way they want to see it, and they talk themselves into believing that they're going to carry this on and be a hero for ISIS.
How long? We think about beginning at least before August 5. The FBI were probably tailing her. Would you not expect that? And they're probably watching her phones and everything else. I mean, that she's not alone.
Absolutely. Like I said, they wouldn't have let this drag on if they felt there was any chance she could wander off on her own and get this done with someone else. Because obviously that is a danger, and they have to weigh that. The FBI had this under control via the initial informant, via, I'm going to guess these other informants were undercover agents or cops, and they were monitoring her. They were talking with her frequently. They were watching what she was doing and knew that she was only going to do what they told her to do. She was being controlled and manipulated by the FBI, as she's trying to carry out her own plot.
Well, you know what's sort of interesting is that, why now was the arrest? Because, I mean, I assume that there was a particular reason that we don't know. The FBI had a reason. But you would want to watch her until the point where she's essentially going to pull the trigger, but so that you can see who else is involved in this, who she's in touch with, how big this web of ISIS is, or whether she's a lone wolf or whatever. So I would expect that there was something that caused the FBI to make a decision today. We gotta pick her up.
I think at some point, you're also looking for that overt act. So you could, take that to trial. I think we saw recently she was given $200 to go buy bombing material. That was probably the overt act that the FBI was waiting for a strong prosecution. And as you said, you want to play this out, see if there are others involved. And there just comes a time when the FBI has to say, okay, we don't think there's others involved. We don't see the need to carry this on. We have the case. And we can never risk, of course, the fact that she may go off somewhere else if we don't start producing something for her. She may turn somewhere else and we won't have control of it. So, it's kind of a chess game. The FBI has to put the case together, see what they can find out in terms of any widespread conspiracy. There's one, and then make the decision, okay, it's time now to make the arrest. So it's a matter of investigative discretion.
Well, assuming she's guilty, congratulations to the FBI. Thank you to the informants who are just regular citizens. Thank you to them. And also Thank you to you, Michael Tabman, for helping me. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Now it's time for the Soundbite Shuffle. Okay, sit back and we're going to scroll for you. Today we have new campaign ads released in Michigan's heated U.S. Senate race. But first, Hunter Biden does not hold back when asked about his father's former vice president, Kamala Harris.
I just think that she's not a very good politician. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't see how she possibly thinks that distancing herself from Joe Biden is even possible. And why would you, if you really believed in the record that you had left?
If Hunter decides to run for president, what would you tell him? What would President Biden tell him?
I do have a funny answer for that. I would say run, but then you take that how you want to.
As a matter of fact, I believe you have missed several thousand votes because you don't show up to work.
I'm sorry, I have to be able to respond to that. I mean, this mayor, I think she knows.
Have you missed several thousand votes?
Yeah, I mean, we all miss. Days of council. We all miss days of council.
I have not voted Republican before. I have always been a Democrat. I made the decision to support Mike over Abdul because I believe in Mike, and he has shown me through and through that he has the same exact values I do, of looking for affordability for young people. I'm Ethan from Waterford, and I'm with Mike Rogers because he'll get to work for Democrats like me.
Hey, does it ever feel like you're in a cage, kind of stuck, being watched? Well, because you are. There's been this mass proliferation of flock cameras any and everywhere. Little cameras watching your every move to collect information about you without you even noticing. That's all been part of a regime that's been pushed by, well, this guy.
Somebody must be doing something exactly right. But who would be complaining? Somebody whose privacy was violated. You can't have your privacy violated if you don't know your privacy is violated, right?
And this, you can't make up. Back together again? I'm talking about President Trump and Michael Cohen. To put it lightly, the two men have had quite the checkered past with each other. Cohen is Trump's former personal lawyer and fixer, but then the two men had a cataclysmic falling out. It got so bad that Cohen testified against Trump in the Stormy Daniels trial. And as you know, the two have bashed each other.
I saw a defeated man. I saw somebody that knows that it's the end of the Trump organization. Already found guilty of fraud. The license will ultimately be taken.
say felon, convicted felon for lying, went to jail for lying.
So here's a shocker. Tonight, President Trump will appear on Michael Cohen's radio show. Michael Cohen says, quote, "The two of us will sit down and have a discussion. No carefully choreographed political theater, no army of handlers, no convenient talking points. Just two people confronting 15 years of history and finding out whether something once considered unbreakable can survive something that nearly destroyed it," end quote. CPAC Chairman Matt Schlapp joins me.
Are we living in reality, Greta?
I don't know. First, we got the two women screaming at each other in L.A. I mean, like, you know, the women are acting just like the bad men, screaming at each other. Now we got these two men.
I think that politics is a little unhinged.
You think?
I think we like sharp personalities, but maybe these two ladies in Los Angeles are taking it a little too far.
Well, these two men aren't doing much better. I mean, Trump and Cohen aren't doing much better, and I can roll out a bunch of men. I can roll out a bunch of men that are bad, and you've got. I mean, there's a whole menu of mean girls. I got a whole menu of women that are mean girls, but they're and the mean men too. It's just got unhinged.
So, what's wrong with Cohen and Trump? Isn't it good that they look like they're going to bury the hatchet? Isn't that a positive thing?
Yes, of course it is. But the idea, after the things they've said about, I mean, my mother was 100% Irish, so I can say this. I have Irish Alzheimer's. I grow old, forget everything but a grudge. My mother would say that about me. But I mean, come on. I mean, they were at each other's throats. I do hope they get back together, but it's unusual.
I will just say this. You know, you've been in TV a long time. I've been in TV a long time. All of this we've had 10, 11 years of Trump in our politics. And along with it comes this cast of characters. And I remember being over at Fox and CNN and running into Michael Cohen and thinking, like, I don't know if I should get to know this guy. Then he became like really inside the Trump campaign, and then I did get to know him, and then all of a sudden, obviously, he became persona non grata with all the Stormy Daniels stuff and everything. So it's like, I don't know, it's been a hell of a wave to try to ride.
I do not understand. I mean, when he wrote the book, I think it was called Revenge or something, the cover of Michael Cohen's book. I don't know how the jury could have credited his testimony when he writes a book where he's going to make money going after the president. I thought, you got to be kidding me. I mean, the guy. I mean, that was unthinkable. I mean, I would have, if I were the trial lawyer on this, I would have gotten an 8x10 poster and closing arguments and put it on easel with the cover of his book.
You know, I don't know if you've written a major book, but. One of the problems with these books is that these famous people come out and you have to kind of tell all and you have to have some real live moments. And you see this with Fauci, you see this with Birx, you see this with Cohen, you see it with so many people. They admit in writing that they were lying when they were public officials. I don't know why you'd read past that point in a book, because once a person says that kind of like they regularly use lying as a tactic for their career, you'd probably just would assume that the rest of the book wouldn't be honest.
Well, not to go too far off the trails, that there's a murder trial out in California, out in Nevada, of Tupac Shakur, and the guy on trial wrote a biography in 2019 in which he admits to supplying the gun. So a lot of people write books and say dopey things. All right, I think Trump's going to eat Cohen alive tonight, or could.
I think Trump is masterclass on these things. He knows how to play the game. Why is he going on this show? I don't know. He has his own reason. He controls his own schedule. But I agree with you. I can't imagine he's going to come across being manipulated by someone like Cohen.
All right, let's go to California, to the two women running for mayor. I probably wasn't very nice when I called them mean girls, but that's spat.
Look, I think Karen Bass has been really incompetent, and I can't imagine she can win this race. But, you know, I'm a conservative, so I'm looking at California and saying, you know, what's going on out there? I would say this, that what's happening, what conservatives who have written off California don't understand is this whole Spencer Pratt and these other Republicans who have done well, Steve Hilton, in California. There is a little bit of Democrats returning to acting like Democrats in California. In other words, drop the craziness, drop the communism, drop the wokeness, run your cities, you know, clean your cities up, get rid of crime, like make sure public transportation works. And San Francisco has actually taken some steps towards the middle. It'd be great if our cities, our large cities, could run half as well as these cities overseas that are twice the size or 3 or 4 times the size. We're talking about like Japan, 20 million people, runs just like clockwork. You know, we're the only country that has these broken cities. I'm rooting for America. I'd like to have a good mayor of LA and a good mayor of New York City. We don't have them.
Matt Schlapp, as always, thank you. Nice to see you. The federal investigation into disgraced Congressman Eric Swalwell appears to have escalated. The investigation grew out of sexual misconduct allegations. Multiple reports from anonymous sources. You know, I hate anonymous sources, but they are reporting that the FBI has seized Swalwell's electronic devices. The report says one warrant was executed when Swalwell landed at the San Francisco airport on Saturday night. Swalwell was confronted by FBI agents. He was reported to have been cooperative with the FBI who were meeting him in the airport. The second search warrant was executed on Sunday at his Washington, D.C. residence. How quickly things changed. Swalwell was running for California governor and was the front runner. In April, he dropped his bid for governor and resigned from Congress. This came after multiple allegations of sexual misconduct, including rape. Swalwell has maintained his innocence. Coming up, in the Lindsay Clancy murder trial, the judge dismissed the jury early. That when the record continues.
Federal agencies urge every family to have an emergency radio. During any disaster, electrical power may get cut. The emergency radio gives you the vital information you need. Newsmax wants you to have the Dynamo Emergency Band Radio. It doesn't need batteries and works in any emergencies. It retails for $30. You can get it with the free offer. Call or go online and get the emergency radio today. Your life may depend on it.
This is our time, you know? His favorite route is the long way around. Now we can take it again. I'm not sure who loves this freedom more, him or me.
Being out here alone is my happy place. Nature can have its threats, but I'm prepared.
I'm not trying to fight wildlife. I just don't want one bad encounter deciding everything.
Carry confidence wherever you go with Byrna. And now it's the biggest sale ever at Byrna.com.
There's a reason the wealthy don't keep all their money in one place. We work hard our entire lives to build wealth for retirement. If your retirement dropped 30% tomorrow, would you be ready? Or would you just have to wait and hope it comes back? The last thing any of us wants is to watch our retirement accounts shrink every time Wall Street panics, the dollar drops, or global uncertainty rises. That's why so many successful Americans turn to gold to help protect their retirement. And Preserve Gold is the only precious metals company I trust and recommend. Let me be frank, gold is not for everybody. And I do not give financial advice, but I do urge you to get my free wealth protection guide from Preserve Gold and learn about a special offer to receive up to $20,000 in free gold and silver. Education is power.
Text Newsmax to 50505.
Today, testimony resumed in the Lindsay Clancy murder trial. Clancy is accused of killing her 3 children. Today, jurors heard from one witness, and then the jury was dismissed early. Crime reporter and host of the John Depetro show, John Depetro, joins me. Nice to see you, John. And, you know, out of all the cases that I've watched or covered of these, I think this one seems to be the hardest, toughest one. I don't know. You've been sitting in the courtroom since it began. I think this one, it's just unthinkable all the way around. What do you think? What have you observed?
Very much, Greta. It's, you know, it's an unrelatable type of case. And one thing that Lindsay Clancy did that was, you know, smart was she hired Kevin Reddington, very famous criminal defense attorney up here. He's been in Brockton for 50 years. But it's an odd setting in the courtroom, Greta, because most of the time, you know, I've been there where, you know, there's the victims' families all sitting there and family and friends all sitting behind the Commonwealth or the prosecution. With this, it's empty. It's empty rows. If Patrick Clancy and maybe his parents or family and friends, if they had chosen to go after her, it'd be a different type of trial. But this is so sad, and she is sitting there in the wheelchair. This is the 4th week of this. It's really it's not an easy case, and the prosecution they certainly have had their hands full with, you know, how are they approaching this? They're kind of treating her a little bit with kid gloves because she's kind of a pathetic character sitting there. It's so, I mean, even the local media, they don't like to refer to it as a triple murder, but that's what we're talking about. But it also, you know, we've seen this rise of conspiracy theories, and then you had all the people out there in the pink rallying for her, 400 people basically out in front of the courthouse. So it's been a very different of all the, I've covered over 30 trials. I've never had a case like this.
And they don't call her an alleged triple murder, but I mean, she's a labor and delivery nurse who had a history of postpartum depression and a real one. I mean, there's a long trail of evidence that she sought help a lot, and that they had her on. She's on a ton of drugs. I guess people thought that would help her. And she just, it's when I listen to her sob in the court, it doesn't. It eats at you, and yet, we've got 3 dead children. I mean, it's like it's just the worst.
Yes. Greta, and what this seems to come down to is it's really a battle of the experts. The Commonwealth is saying she never mentioned hearing voices. Now, we had the chaplain, I interviewed her, who treated her in the hospital and prayed with her. She says that Lindsay Clancy told her she had voices commanding her to do it. We had the husband say that she, told him that. We had the doctor who has worked a lot with Kevin Reddington, the defense attorney. He said that she claimed that she had heard voices commanding her to do it. But as far as the Commonwealth, and listen, they've been beat up. This is not an easy case to bring, but they say this is someone who never mentioned anyone. She did talk about self-harm, never mentioned voices, never Googled anything about hearing voices. That day, Patrick Clancy, her ex, he testified it was actually a good day. He worked from home. She was out playing with the kids. Then she said, I don't have anything for dinner. Let's do takeout. He claims he had no reason to believe she was suddenly going to snap and do that with the children. What I think is problematic for the defense, Greta, is the fact that she did have the wherewithal to Google how long would it take for him to get to the takeout restaurant and go to CVS. He even called her while he was at the CVS. She returned the phone call as she was in the midst of all this. I think it's going to come down to, and the jury, do they believe it? And this is not a young jury, by the way. I covered a case last spring. It was a little bit of a younger jury. This is a little bit older jurors. I think it comes down to, do they believe that someone could just snap and she's never come back and said she's heard these voices? She's never attempted self-harm before. That's what it really seems to come down to. Do they believe that in that moment she heard these voices and that's why she did what she did? Greta, if you take that out of the equation, this crime just has no rhyme or reason to it.
I think, at least for me as a juror, and I'm, a couple thousand, maybe 1,000 miles from Boston, what's significant to me is that she tried so hard to get help for so long. She clearly had a problem, and she was so failed, and they gave her so many drugs. And this is not, that there's no prior history or anything. So, I don't know. The jury has a tough job, and I wouldn't want to be on that jury. John, thank you very much for joining me, and we'll continue to follow. Thank you.
Thank you, Greta. Good to be with you.
Thank you. 31-year-old Connor Anderson is missing. The Colorado man was last seen in Nashville, Tennessee, and according to authorities, on Saturday afternoon, Anderson arrived in Nashville for a work conference. He checked into the Millennium Maxwell House Hotel. Later that night, he went to a bar, and around 1 a.m. on Sunday, he was caught on police body cam footage, flagging down 2 East Precinct officers. While talking to those officers, Anderson reported an interaction with a group of men outside a nearby bar. What you are seeing on your screen is the last known video footage of Anderson. Here's part of the interaction between Anderson and the 2 police officers.
I met these guys, and I asked them if they would show me their neighborhood. And he said yes. And they took $20 from me. He ended up getting another $20 from me. And then him and his friends acted like nothing happened, and then they threatened me with violence if I didn't leave.
Were you trying to buy drugs?
No.
My only advice to give you is that don't give money to strangers, okay?
Of course, I know.
Go out with friends or co-workers or a group of people and go out by yourself, okay? Get to your place safely, okay?
I am.
Get an Uber.
I am. This is my last stop.
Boy, those cops have a tough job. And as you heard, in that exchange, Anderson agreed to call an Uber to go back to his hotel, but he has not been seen since. According to the staff at the Millennium Maxwell House Hotel, Anderson never returned. Anderson's father and other family members have traveled to Nashville to look for him. They have also retrieved his items from the hotel. Obviously, if you have seen him or see him, call 911. Coming up, will recently convicted murderer Carmelo Anthony get a retrial? That when the record continues.
There's no way a mouthwash can prevent bad breath for 12 hours.
You're right, Bill. Mouthwash can't, but this is dentist-developed Smart Mouth Activated Mouthwash.
Activated?
Yeah, if your mouthwash isn't activated, it's not Smart Mouth. See, this plus this activate for 12 hours of bad breath prevention, guaranteed. Try it. You won't have bad breath in the morning. Good night, Bill.
Get dentist-developed Smart Mouth today. It's the smarter mouthwash, available at these fine retailers.
My parents have both passed. My dad was a veteran. He loved the military. So I wanted to give his car to the military so that veterans could get some money. My first thought was Tunnel to Towers. They set you up with a time or date. They pick it up. All you need is your title and keys. They sell it. They get back to you with the receipt. You use it for your taxes at the end of the year, and you're good.
Join us in supporting our nation's heroes. Go to T2T.org to make a positive impact.
It's 2 a.m., your fever spiked and you're miserable. Here's your options.
Urgent care, closed. ER, slammed, and you'll spend hundreds of thousands in both. Telehealth, yeah, but the pharmacies are closed.
That's the reason why we keep emergency medical kits at home.
It has doctor-prescribed medication like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other antibiotics and antivirals. You can treat flu, pneumonia, strep, sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
Because if you're sick in at night, traveling or stranded, you don't want options.
You want what is inside this kit. No waiting, no pharmacy, and no copays.
Just schedule a quick telehealth call.
And that's how you feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
Every family should have this kit, and here's how to order yours.
Order online in minutes and use the promo code to save $45. Your doctor-prescribed kit ships fast to your door, packed with medications to treat over 30 conditions. So when something hits, you're ready. And a wellness company telehealth doctor is always there if you need guidance.
It's me, Ricky. You grew up with me. I am using Fatty 15 to get me to feel and look the best I've ever felt at my age. The C15 nutrient has been known to strengthen our cells and slow the aging process at a cellular level. I urge you to try Fatty 15.
I was tired of sitting on the sidelines. Now, thanks to Jointivia, I'm back in the swing of things. Wait, $70 for a refill?
You gotta try Single Care. Just look up your prescription, show the coupon at the pharmacy, and save.
Really?
Really. Single Care crushes the cost of my prescription, almost as much as I'm crushing Chad.
Unbelievable. See why more people are saving with Single Care. Common side effects include shockingly lower prices, excessive fist bumps, and humbling guys named Chad.
This is our time, you know? His favorite route is the long way around. Now we can take it again. I'm not sure who loves this freedom more, him or me.
Being out here alone is my happy place. Nature can have its threats, but I'm prepared.
I'm not trying to fight wildlife. I just don't want one bad encounter deciding everything.
Carry confidence wherever you go with Byrna. And now it's the biggest sale ever at Byrna.com.
Yes, we have an identification. The Philadelphia police have identified 22-year-old Zymire Hughes. A warrant has been issued for his arrest. According to the Philadelphia police, last week Hughes wore a Chucky-style horror mask and made threatening comments while chasing a woman near City Hall. According to police, he also harassed pedestrians in the same area. The Philadelphia Police Department is warning that Hughes may have fled the Philadelphia area and added that Hughes has ties to California and Nevada. Meanwhile, the judge who presided over Texas teenager Carmelo Anthony's murder trial and conviction has now been removed from the case. The removal of the trial judge comes before a key hearing. The hearing is to decide whether or not to grant a new trial to Anthony. Anthony was convicted with fatal stabbing 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a high school track meet. Senior correspondent John Huddy has the latest. John?
Yeah, and Greta, that hearing is still going on right now in Collin County, Texas, with Anthony's legal team really pushing for a retrial and also to overturn the murder conviction. Now, attorneys took issue with trial judge John Roach in part because of a post-trial TV interview during which the judge said that the jurors, quote, got it right when they delivered the guilty verdict in Anthony's killing of Austin Metcalf, as mentioned. Now, jurors this past summer rejected Anthony's claims of self-defense during a confrontation with Metcalf in the stadium bleachers at a high school track meet in Frisco, Texas, back in April of 2025. Anthony is black, Metcalf was white. Prosecutors said the case didn't have anything to do with race. Anthony was sentenced, as we know, to 35 years in prison. He's serving that sentence out at state prison. Judge Sid Hurl, who who had been overseeing the post-trial proceedings, said he believed that Judge Roach would be fair in a hearing for a retrial, but added the defense's argument was enough that the judge's, quote, impartiality might reasonably be questioned. Now, Anthony's legal team argued today there were constitutional violations in the initial trial. Prosecutors disagreed, saying there were multiple efforts to keep it fair, and that even Anthony's legal team agreed with the prosecution on that. And today, prosecutors also said there was even more evidence to prove Anthony did not act in self-defense and had been, quote, spiraling out of control before the confrontation. Still, his supporters cheered free Anthony, among other things, outside the courthouse Wednesday. And one Texas pastor also added this about the ongoing case. Listen.
We are not insensitive to the fact that a life was lost, but we also don't believe that 2 lives should be lost through injustice.
Now, retired District Judge Michael Chitty has now been assigned to the case. He's a senior judge with more than 50 years legal experience, including 17 on the bench, overseeing some pretty high-profile cases in the past. He said today, Greta, that if necessary, the hearing would continue Friday as well. Greta?
John, to put it in legal language, what the judge did talking about the verdict afterwards, saying it was right, was just plain stupid because he poisoned a potential jury pool should there be a need to grant a new trial. What a dumb thing for the judge to do. John Huddy, thank you. And there's a new twist in the shocking death of actress Hayden Panettiere. Multiple reports based off anonymous sources. I don't like anonymous sources, but they do report that the DEA is now investigating her death. On Sunday, the 36-year-old actress was found unresponsive at a South Carolina apartment. And according to 911 dispatch audio, paramedics responded to a cardiac arrest and CPR was done for a possible overdose. So far, no cause of death has been determined. Police say there are no signs of foul play. The autopsy and toxicology tests could take weeks to complete. Coming up, is the king okay with this? His son and his son's wife are planning something big. That when the record continues.
All across the nation, people can't stop talking about Carl Higbie and Frontline for the big news they need to know. Watch Carl Higbie, Frontline, tonight at 6 p.m., only on Newsmax.
What if your GLP-1 for weight loss was as easy to take as a mint? Small, discreet, and easy. Think about that. No needles. This is compounded tirzepatide, a mint-flavored tablet designed to fit into your daily routine. You simply let it dissolve under your tongue. A simple daily tablet, as easy to take as a mint.
Save $50 with promo code SLIM at dropthepounds.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at dropthepounds.com/slim.
LeafGuard has earned the Good Housekeeping seal for over 20 years and has been lab tested to handle up to 32 inches of rainfall an hour. Don't deal with those old gutters any longer. Get LeafGuard, the only seamless one-piece rainwater management system with a clog-free guarantee and lifetime transferable warranty. It's LeafGuard's Celebrate America sale. 75% off installation of a complete LeafGuard system. You'll receive a bonus, a $250 Visa gift card with your LeafGuard purchase. Act now and get no interest and no payments until 2028. Remember, with LeafGuard, the top's not a cover, it's part of the gutter. Call now to have a nice gift for you. A free $100 Visa gift card with your free in-home estimate. Call 800-541-1274. Now, let me give you that number again. 1-800-541-1274.
The LeafGuard system has blown away our initial expectations.
I love the fact my LeafGuard gutters are low maintenance.
I'm a happy LeafGuard customer.
Who wants to be on a ladder this summer cleaning clogged gutters? I mean, let's face it, they can be a fire hazard in drier conditions. All it takes is one spark. That's why homeowners choose LeafGuard, the gutter that never clogs, guaranteed. It's our Celebrate America sale, 75% off installation of a complete LeafGuard system. You'll receive a bonus, a $250 Visa gift card with purchase. Act now and get no interest and no payments until 2028. This can come in handy when you fill up at the pump, a free $100 Visa gift card with your free in-home estimate. Call 800-541-1274. Now, let me give you that number again. 1-800-541-1274.
Every day, bumps and bangs happen. Bruises are optional. Use daily dermatologist recommended Dermend and reduce the appearance of bruises. Get Dermend Moisturizing Bruise Cream in the first aid aisle.
When Saturday rolls around, I don't want to jump through hoops to watch college football. Good thing DirecTV makes it easy to keep up with my favorite college teams. No hopping between apps or channels.
Stream college football without the hurdles on DirecTV.
Your mouthwash routine just got a whole lot smarter. Use Smart Mouth Activated Dry Mouth for immediate relief and 12-hour bad breath prevention guaranteed. If your mouthwash isn't activated, it's not Smart Mouth. Relieve your dry mouth and prevent bad breath. Get activated Smart Mouth.
24 hours of sheer terror. Russia's attacks in Ukraine are continuing tonight. The latest wave of strikes have killed at least 17 people and injured dozens. Foreign correspondent Shelby Wilder joins me from Kyiv, Ukraine. Shelby?
Hi, Greta. Good to be with you. Yeah, it has been a difficult 24 hours here in Kyiv, as you noted, with little to no sleep. Everyone I've spoken to today is exhausted, and we have been under attack even this evening. I went on air about 3 hours ago, and just before going live, a jet-powered drone exploded over a business center in the city, which killed 2 people and injured at least 2 others. And again, as I was going on air, you could see these large plumes of black smoke that were still hanging over parts of the capital. And residents now across Kyiv are bracing for what another night might bring, as this has become such a regular occurrence. Tens of thousands of people packed into Kyiv's metro stations and basements overnight as Russia unleashed a massive barrage from land, air, and sea, firing hundreds of drones alongside dozens of missiles, including North Korean ballistic missiles. The building that I was in was shaking. The windows were rattling. At one point, I thought they might give way because they were shaking so much due to these continuous deafening explosions. And at the height of the attack, around 21 or 22 missiles struck Kyiv within the span of just 15 minutes. Even for me, that was a first, because in all my war reporting, I've never seen so many missiles arrive in such a short period of time. And remember, Kyiv is effectively out of air defense interceptors, and the interception rate, so meaning the number that are taken down of the incoming aerial assaults, this has now fallen so low that everyone here feels like they are sitting ducks and that they are exposed to Russian ballistic missile attacks as those US-made Patriot air defense systems sit essentially empty because of critical interceptor shortages. And Zelensky continues to call for more support. He wants to buy these interceptors because he said they will save lives. Now, as for the aftermath with this latest mass attack, there were power cuts. We know that a children's hospital in Kyiv was damaged, along with 30 residential buildings. These are apartment blocks, also a school, a kindergarten, warehouses. And as you noted, so far, 17 people have been killed, but that number has continued to climb today. More than 50 are injured. And again, residents in the capital of Ukraine hoping for a quiet night, but we shall see, Greta, because we certainly haven't been having a lot of those as of recent.
Shelby, you're brave, you're tough, and without your reporting, we wouldn't know about this, so it's much appreciated. You do it so that the rest of us don't have to. Anyway, thank you, Shelby.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, we have seen people and businesses fleeing California, but this might be a first. It looks like the royals want to flee California, too. After more than 6 years in sunny California, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are moving back to the United Kingdom. According to multiple news outlets, on Sunday, the couple informed King Charles about their plan. When's the move? Soon. Harry and Meghan, along with their 2 children, are expected to move out of California by the end of this month. So how is the UK reacting? Open arms or something else? Reporters grilled new Prime Minister Andy Burnham.
Meghan and Harry moving back to the UK from California. Is the government going to establish their security and pay for it?
Well, this is a private matter. It's a matter for Harry and for Meghan, and we wish them well in the move that they're making.
Associate editor at the Royal Observer, Josh Rahm, once again joins me. And Josh, I guess the first thing I should say to you is, tag, you're it. You got him.
Well, it seems that we do. Now, for the last day at least, a lot of the emphasis has been on Prince Harry, how he misses his country, how he wants to spend more time with his family, which includes the King and Queen and the Spencer side of his family, the family of his late mother, Princess Diana, how he misses life in the UK. He wants face-to-face meetings and more face-to-face activities with his charities and patronages. But it's just been revealed tonight, a world exclusive on news.com.au by Bronte Coy, that actually one of the main reasons for their move back is that Meghan is returning to acting. She has landed, according to the outlet, a new role based here in the UK.
Is the UK ready to, they want them back? Are they excited about it? Or I imagine that a lot of people are really excited. Are some not so excited?
Well, I think that's a question that we'll have to wait and see. I think there's certainly been a lot of buzz around their return. It is bombshell news. It was absolutely unthinkable 6 years ago when they stepped back as working members of the royal family in that dramatic exit. They've released bombshell interview after bombshell interview with Oprah, with Netflix for their docuseries, Prince Harry Spare. There's been nothing but resentment there. And now it seems that they want to embrace the UK, stay here for at least the foreseeable future, what sources close to them have called an extended period of time. It's just a case of whether the public will be able to forgive them for all the damage that they seem to have done, not just to the institution, but actually some would argue to the reputation of the country as a whole.
Do they have any money? I mean, I understand you just broke the news that she's going to go back to acting, but how do they support themselves? Or is it they made so much money prior to going home?
Well, I mean, I would say, I think it's fair to say that their Hollywood adventures haven't necessarily gone to plan. Netflix deal was downgraded. The Spotify deal terminated. Meghan's lifestyle series on Netflix, With Love Meghan, yes, it's Daytime Emmy Award nominated, but cancelled after 2 seasons. I think from those deals initially, they have made a fair bit of money. As well, Prince Harry has previously opened up as well about how he used inheritance from his late mother, Princess Diana, as well. That has helped supported him, has supported especially the high security costs that he's needed over in the United States. But sources tell me as well that Meghan still plans to keep expanding her as ever range as well, that lifestyle range with jams and spreads and candlesticks and all of that sort of stuff. But I think the UK seems like a more natural home. I don't think Prince Harry especially necessarily established the foothold in California that he might have wanted to. I think he definitely misses his life here in the UK. I think the UK is more of a natural home for him. And especially because I'm told this is going to be very quick. I've been told by sources that they're not going to be working members of the royal family. They're very much going to still engage in commercial activities. Meghan, as I just revealed, going to return to acting as well, to help fund their philanthropic and their charitable endeavours. So I think they're still planning on doing new projects just based here in the UK.
Josh Rahm, thank you, and I hope he mends his fences with his brother too. Thank you.
That's a long way away.
Coming
we
up.
shall see about that.
Coming up, the national debt reaches a new high, and Vice President J.D. Vance talks to my colleague, Carl Higbie. Carl joins me next when the record continues.
Think you need a new roof? Think again. Most roofing companies only make money one way, by selling you a new roof. But what if your roof isn't worn out, just dried out? And with just a little love, you could put off an expensive roof replacement for up to 15 years, at a fraction of the cost of a new roof. Newsmax is a scientifically engineered restoration formula that brings your shingle life back to new. Scan the code and get a free roof tune-up with your Newsmax restoration.
This is our time, you know? His favorite route is the long way around. Now we can take it again. I'm not sure who loves this freedom more, him or me.
Being out here alone is my happy place. Nature can have its threats, but I'm prepared.
I'm not trying to fight wildlife. I just don't want one bad encounter deciding everything.
Carry confidence wherever you go with Byrna. And now it's the biggest sale ever at Byrna.com.
Where's the admission desk at your hospital? You may need it sooner than you think. It's the middle of the night and you, your spouse, or your child is sick, high fever, can't keep anything down, and getting worse. Now you're waiting in the ER, and everyone gets seen before you. And when I finally see you and order prescriptions, you still have to wait for your pharmacy to open and hope they have what I prescribed. This is the medical emergency kit. It's stocked with essential medications, including amoxicillin, generic Z-Pak, and ivermectin. Now you have the right medications when you need them. And it's why I and so many of my colleagues have medical emergency kits. It's like having an urgent care and pharmacy in your home. Just fill out a brief online medical intake and your kit, prescribed by a licensed provider, is shipped to your door. Here's how to order.
Order your kit now and save $45. Visit urgentcarekit.com/news. That's urgentcarekit.com/news.
You can't find a ranch style with a view.
And a mom-in-law suite.
More realtor agents recommend Realtor.com. With their expert new search tool, just search it like you'd say it.
Room for mom.
And Reba. Make it real with Realtor.com.
Free yourself from prying eyes. Ask privately with Duck.ai. Visit Duck.ai to chat privately with ChatGPT, Claude, and other AIs for free. All in one place. Duck.ai is from DuckDuckGo, where AI is private and optional.
For all the extra hours and endless meetings, you deserve this. It's the Omaha Steaks Labor Day event, and right now we're offering 50% off site-wide. Order now and you'll get 8 of our famous burgers free when you visit omahasteaks.com/TV.
Pirates have hijacked a ship, and not just any ship. It is an oil tanker that was previously sanctioned by the United States. So why did the USA sanction that tanker? For being in Iran's shadow fleet. The hijacking happened earlier today off the coast of Yemen. That's according to UK Maritime Trade Operations. The organization says, quote, UK MTO have received confirmation that the tanker has been boarded by 6 armed persons who are now in control of the vessel and redirecting it to Somalia, end quote. These waters near Somalia and Yemen are dangerous. Just this week, Somalian officials said pirates hijacked a cargo ship off the coast of Somalia. The ship was carrying weapons from Turkey. And across the sea from Somalia is Yemen. That's where the Iran-backed Houthis are based, and the Houthis, as you know, have been attacking ships. Meanwhile, Vice President J.D. Vance is speaking to Newsmax, not just to anybody, but to my colleague Carl Higbie. One of the topics, the national debt hitting $40 trillion. Here's a preview.
Even though the debt is too high, even though we inherited this debt bomb from the Biden administration, we actually do have a plan to get the economy growing faster than the debt, and that's the most important thing. The issue that we've had under the Biden administration and what we're still kind of dealing with is that the debt was growing faster than American GDP. That's the problem. That's something that we're certainly fixing every single day in the Trump administration. But you know, even though the media doesn't cover this, I'm glad you're asking this question because Scott Bessent is very much on top of it. He knows it's a problem, and he's got the president's empowerment to do something about it.
Host of Frontline, as I said, my good friend and colleague, Carl Higbie joins me. Nice to see you, Carl. I like your sling. It's a good look from your surgery. Very good look. You look like a pirate. I'm going to send you as a former Navy SEAL to Somalia for that tanker. All right, let's get down to business. You talked about the national debt. What else are we going to hear from the vice president?
Well, we talked about the Save America Act, steps that he might be able to take to overrule the parliamentarian, which has been a sticking point, but also getting John Thune to get his butt in gear. We also talked about the Clarity Act, and a lot of people don't realize how much this could impact, like tens of trillions of dollars of money and expansion in the U.S. economy from institutional investors. It's actually amazing how in tune this administration is with the crypto world.
All right, I give up. What's the Clarity Act? I mean, I probably shouldn't admit I don't know what the Clarity Act is. I give up.
The Clarity Act, it's the new law that's sitting in the Senate right now. It was passed by the House. President Trump supports it. It would open and regulate the crypto market, because right now the crypto is just Wild West. People are maybe investing, maybe not, but there's no regulation around it. And so institutional investors like retirement funds and things like that can't flow into it and be invested in it. This would allow all those funds to be introduced into a volatile market that could become more stable and actually could help with the debt problem, too.
Do you find him easy or hard or something in between to interview?
I actually get along really well with the vice president. I've had a number of chances to sit down and talk with him on a number of occasions. He's one of the most personable guys, but he actually means what he says. That's what I really like about him. It's not fluff and powder. He says what he means what he says. He's not dare I say, politician, despite the fact he's the vice president. Very easy guy to talk to.
Both of you have a military history, and so did you touch on the issue of Iran at all with him?
We did. There's some things that I asked, didn't get all the answers I wanted, but I was hoping to find out how long Iran can actually hold out with these new sanctions and the economic pressure that they're putting on. He does allude to a certain number of things, but you'll have to watch at 6 o'clock.
You know, well, we'll watch at 6, but one of the problems that we always have is that we always get a limited amount of time. That's the other problem. And doing it remotely, it's harder too, but because you can't read the body language. But you know, I'm sure you could have asked about could have asked an hour of questions at least.
I mean, he was very gracious, gave us almost 15 minutes of content, so we hit everything from the debt to, you know, I mentioned the Clarity Act, to Iran, to a number of other things, including oil prices that they are working very hard to get back down.
I realize we haven't even made it through the midterms, but did you get any hint
Well,
about
I asked
2028?
him right out the gate. I was like, hey, when are you going to announce you're running for president? And he was like, we're trying to get through the midterms right now, which is fancy for saying right after the midterms.
Well, that certainly wasn't a no.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying. It was like basically the same thing that AOC is doing, which means she's running.
Well, actually, that'd be some interesting challenge. All right. In terms of, did he talk about the president at all?
Well, we did talk about there was one divide between, you know, at one point the vice president had spoken out about fuel prices coming down, the #1 goal of the Iran war, which obviously, when it was interpreted by the media, was incorrect. I mean, obviously the #1 goal is not letting them get a nuke, and then after that, bringing the fuel prices down. But other than that, we didn't speak too much about you know, President Trump himself. His policies, though, especially economic policies, bringing money into the country, a variety of things like that. It was actually surprisingly open.
All right. Well, make sure you watch Carl at 6 p.m. because he has 15 minutes. He just told us, and that he didn't cover everything just now with me, so he's got a lot more. 6 p.m. Eastern, Carl Higbie wearing a sling. It's a nice look.
Thanks, Greta. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Carl. Coming up, a man thought that shoplifting would be a piece of cake. He hatched a unique plan, but then he did something really dumb. That when the record continues.
He could tell me everything about my life, so he was looking for me for a long time.
Children are being manipulated and blackmailed online. The results can be deadly. Human trafficking is happening right here in America. Watch Stolen Lives, America's human trafficking crisis.
You're careful about what you bring home when shopping, especially when it comes to feeding your family. Shouldn't your investments work the same way? At Timothy Plan, we offer a wide selection of mutual funds and ETFs that can help you allocate assets without compromising your values. From technology to healthcare, energy to real estate, our funds are not only diverse but uncompromising to your values. Timothy Plan funds are filtered to avoid companies involved in abortion, pornography, human trafficking, and other harmful agendas. What you invest in should reflect what you stand for. Are your investments bearing good fruit? What's in your portfolio? Contact your financial advisor today to find out, or contact Timothy Plan directly at 1-800-TIM-PLAN to discover more. Before investing, carefully consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the investment company. This and other important information can be found in the fund's prospectus. To obtain a copy, visit timothyplan.com or call 800-846-7526. Read each prospectus carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
People always ask, why Patriot Gold Group? With over 10,000 clients to date and over $1 billion in transactions, not a single complaint on the Better Business Bureau. Consumer Affairs top rated for 9 years in a row. Over 2,000 5-star reviews. The only company nationwide where you, the client, work directly with an owner. Home of the no fee for life IRA. Gold is up 80% in the last 28 months, 275% since Lehman Brothers collapsed. We are patriots protecting Patriots. Give Patriot Gold Group a call at 888-528-4290 before it's too late. Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold and silver dealer 9 years in a row. Call now, 888-528-4290.
Nobody knows Corvettes like McMulkin Chevrolet, the world's largest Corvette dealer for 5 consecutive years. Set apart by its name alone, Corvette delivers a legacy of American craftsmanship, and a vehicle that sets the bar for performance cars deserves a buying experience that beats it. With hundreds of Corvettes in stock and ready for immediate delivery nationwide, it's no wonder Corvette enthusiasts from across the USA keep coming back to McMulkin Chevrolet.
Stop, check this out. Our most advanced performance frame, Talon, is out. It's a bestseller. We just got it back in stock, and I want to show you a little bit about it. These come with our signature lost and broken protection, and you can try them risk-free for 30 days. Check them out at ShadyRays.com.
Don't kibble your dog.
Hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
What's wrong with this?
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means they're ultra-processed. At Dr. Marty, we freeze-dried premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, and it's available at your local pet store.
Kevin Sorbo here, and I have an important message to share. The government needs more money, your money. If you owe the IRS back taxes, they can garnish your wages and levy your bank accounts. They can even seize your retirement or take your home. Don't let the IRS target you. Call the professionals at Tax Network USA. Their tax lawyers and enrolled agents are experts in powerful programs that may even help you eliminate your tax debt.
Call for a free consultation or visit tnusa.com.
We have an update to a story we brought you yesterday. As we reported yesterday, Amazon is going to deliver more packages to more cities by drone. The company says drones will be in nearly 500 cities. Amazon drones already operate in many American cities. So how's it going? Well, here's what happened in Texas. An Amazon drone was delivering a package to a customer. Instead of dropping it at her front door, the drone dropped her package into her pool. At first, the customer said she was excited to watch the drone delivery, but after this, she said she would not want any more deliveries by drone. Amazon, by the way, is a $2.8 trillion company. It has not commented on the pool incident. Guess they're busy drying off packages. Now we're going to go to Chicago, where a shoplifter had himself quite the evening. This man stayed at Macy's past closing, and his after-hour escapades were all caught on camera. Surveillance video shows the man trying on different clothes. Looks like he had himself quite a little fashion show. And then after all that, he wanted a snack, so he went into the store restaurant to get himself some food. He appears to have taken a slice of cake. This all happened back on June 29, but more than 1 month later, alas, he was caught. How? He returned to the scene of the crime. An employee spotted him. He noticed the man was wearing the same shoes and the same backpack. So police took him into custody. He was charged with burglary and retail theft. A reminder, I have a podcast called Greta Wire. You like it, it's different. You can subscribe right now on your favorite podcast app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, at newsmax.com/listen. In about 30 seconds, I'm going to put a new edition up, so make sure you go there. Thanks for watching. Ed Henry, The Big Take is next. Stay with Newsmax.